He's Rex Chapman. He's launched a new podcast. It's called Owned, where he takes a deep dive into the world of pro sports owners. He's talking to journalists and athletes, comedians, actors, and even the owners themselves. You're going to be doing Marge Schott, Donald Sterling, Vince McMahon, the late Jerry Buss, and Rex joins us from New York City. Look at you. You're an entrepreneur is what you are.
Yeah, that's what they call me. I'm glad that when you think of the rough and tumble 80s and 90s basketball, you think of Rex Chapman.
Yeah. That was bad basketball back then. Games were played in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s aesthetically. Even though you had the greatest players with Bird and Magic and Michael, and they had so much physicality to it that they didn't have the free-flowing, sort of artistry that you have now.
No question. I mean, it's so fun to watch now. Guys are so good. Back in the 80s and 90s, we still had bigs that played, traditional bigs that, some of them weren't as skilled. And now you can't team switch everything 1 through 5. Big guys can guard like guards. Big guys can shoot like guards. So it's just a fun game to watch right now. And seems like everybody's way better with their offhand than they used to be.
All right. How do you categorize the Joker? We love to do player comps. We love to say reminds me of. It's almost like he's a hybrid of quite a few players.
I think he's a 7-foot Steve Nash. He's a 7-foot point guard. He's playing at He brings the ball up the floor. He can shoot the ball. You wish he shot it more because he shoots a high percentage. He's the most dominant low post player in the game we have right now. But physically, if you look at him, you go, man, guys have a mismatch with him athletically every single night, and they can't do anything with him. The same way people thought about Steve. Steve would play against Baron Davis, and we go, oh my God, how's he going to do that? But he did it. And, he's getting triple-double doing it. Joker's no joke, man. He's the real thing.
But also when you factor in, and I'm hung up on this, when Perkins said this on the mothership that he pads his stats, and I go, tell me a guy who has 50 other players in the regular season who shoot more field goal attempts than him, and tell me he's a guy who's padding his stats.
I love Perk. I think Perk's terrific. He's fun to watch. I don't always agree with Perk, and I definitely didn't on this one. The guy is just dominant. He might not be the prettiest thing to look at. If you think about, he's like Tim Duncan. He's kind of a plodder. The way he runs up and down the floor, he's not the most fluid player in the world. You look at the end of the game, and he's got 20 and 20. I mean, the guy's just something else. And the way he passes the ball, I just found out recently, some of that is a product of him playing water polo growing up. Did you know that?
Yeah, I just found that out yesterday.
That's amazing.
But if you see how he holds the ball, Rex, that's water polo.
Yeah, it's water polo, and you got to be a great athlete to do that. I don't know how much water polo you've watched. We didn't have much of it on the East Coast growing up, Dan. But water polo players, and you got to be a great swimmer. So he's all kinds of a good athlete. He's just not the traditional athlete we look at.
But we're looking at the European basketball player, and we've changed our opinion because the best players in the NBA are not from the United States. They didn't play college basketball. Would we think differently of, Jokic if he played at Duke for 1 year, or Giannis if he played 1 year, or Luka if he... Because it feels like we're slow to embrace them as, man, they're good. It's like,
I agree.
I don't know.
I agree. When I first came in the league, I think the first foreign player was Sharunas Marciulionis, or one of the first. And, the league didn't really welcome Sharunas all that well. And slowly but surely we had a couple other guys that would play in the league. And, at first we looked at European basketball like it was, a step down. Yeah. It's not a step down anymore. If you go watch anybody play overseas, it's real basketball. Real basketball is being played everywhere at this point.
The Heat didn't make it to a Game 6 or Game 7 because of what?
Because they ran out of juice. I think Jimmy was exhausted. You can only lose guys so much and continue to plug them in. Guys are playing more minutes. That to have a guy like Tyler Hero go out, 20-point scorer, and then be able to still make it to the finals, damn near win it all, is just a testament. My first year down in Miami as a player was Pat Riley's first year as the coach down there, and Eric Spoelstra's first year I remember Eric coming in late at night with remember the CDs? They would burn CDs that would have all of our highlights or lowlights on it. And about 3:00 every morning, I would hear Eric come by the door and flip a CD under my door. So I was supposed to watch that before practice. And hard to believe that's 25 years ago. But Eric just continues to do it. The system that they have down there, they're always going to be in games because they're disciplined. Their defense prevails, and they get guys that are committed to winning and playing the right way. It's just beautiful to watch.
He's Rex Chapman, NBA TV studio analyst, former NBA player, and his new podcast is Owned. What fascinated you about doing a podcast on owners?
Well, if you remember, I had a great run with CNN Plus. That show was just fantastic, as you might remember. No, it wasn't. It was
what happened to that?
It ended. They blew up CNN Plus in a month. So anyway, I was in New York, and after that, I got a call from the guys at Smartless.
Did you leave your car running at CNN? Is that how short your stay at CNN was?
Yeah. I moved up there and drove up and could have driven home.
Yeah.
Right back to Kentucky. No, it was a terrific experience. And then, but from that, I had some time, and guys at Smartless, the podcast, Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, Will Arnett, those guys have created a fantastic brand with their podcast, and they've spun off a couple podcasts. And this one I'm really excited about. This is their first one about sports. It's about sports owners. And the more I've gotten into it, the more I've realized, we haven't done enough on sports owners over the year in the media. It's fascinating. I think you mentioned some of the people we've had Russell Crowe, that episode came out yesterday, first episode with Russell Crowe, and learning that story, I found it just fascinating, Dan, that, we have these famous people, Russell Crowe, Natalie Portman. Natalie Portman owns the Angels in Los Angeles now. Russell Crowe owns his childhood rugby team that he bought from Rupert Murdoch in 2004 for $3 million. It had run into the ground. He put some money into it. They win the title 10 years later, and the team's worth $85 million today. And Russell Crowe's done some amazing things in this life. But you should hear him gush about this football, rugby ownership. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's like whenever you talk to an actor, they don't want to talk acting, they want to talk sports. Or if you talk to a musician, they don't want to talk music, they want to talk sports. I run into this all the time. Let me hit you with a couple of things here in the offseason.
Yeah.
If you're Portland, do you trade Dame Lillard?
I think you probably do. He's been as loyal. I love Dame Lillard. A huge fan of him as a player, but also as a person. I've gotten to know him over the years. And you talk about just a humble guy that goes out there. He comes to play every single night. I just feel like that franchise, he's given that franchise the best that he can give them. I'm just not sure that they can get there with him putting other pieces around him at this point. So I do feel like it's probably time to move.
Chris Paul, best place for Chris Paul to land is where?
Phoenix. I think Phoenix. I still think Phoenix. He's going to have options. Chris Paul is one of the greatest point guards we've ever had in this league. I can't believe he's still playing at such a high level at age 37, 38. But whether it's Phoenix or somewhere else, somebody's going to pick up Chris and get somebody that's highly motivated to win right away. But I still think there's a chance Phoenix keeps it.
Okay, so he comes back for less money because I think he's scheduled to make $30 million. Would he come back under those circumstances?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I really don't. Yeah.
Because I don't know if he
wish I could
just
answer
says, you know what, it's a slap in the face. They're not going to pay me $30 million. LeBron, I'm ready to come help the Lakers.
Well, do you think LeBron wants him?
Well,
do you think
that's what I wondered. Yeah. How does that work if you're a player and your buddy wants to join you, but you're not sure if your buddy can help you get to the next level?
I think maybe we saw a little bit of that with Carmelo, because Melo, was kind of out there, and then LeBron and Melo went there, and he did his best. He was just running on fumes at that point. I don't think Chris is there. I think Chris still has gas in the tank.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. Kyrie, it feels like he's going to re-sign with Dallas. That makes the most sense.
It seems like that. It seems like they sort of have to, right? I mean, they gave up a bit to get him, and to lose him for nothing, or to not turn him into what, to not get the value from Kyrie Irving that you would hope to get. And I think you do have to re-sign him.
Okay, but how do you deal with a teammate? And I don't know if you ever had a teammate who was anywhere near what Kyrie is, and that is extremely talented, but you're not quite sure what you get every single day personally with him.
I think that's difficult. You know how it is, Dan. You got your team right there with you. Being on a team is way bigger than yourself, and I think you have to. We've seen Kyrie's so good. We've seen that he's able to give of himself enough to win a title. He's done that once with LeBron. He hasn't been able to do it without LeBron, and I think that's something that he probably is trying to address. But yeah, I think Dallas has to re-sign Kyrie.
Does he work with Luka though?
I think that's a valid question for anybody. Yeah. Does X work with Luka? We don't know the answer to that yet. Does anyone? We've shown he's a fantastic player, but they're both so ball dominant. I'm not sure how that really works.
Yeah, I brought this question up to Reggie Miller yesterday. I said, would you rather have Luka or Jokic? And he said Jokic.
Jokic. Yes, Jokic.
But a year ago or 2 years ago, you might have answered it differently.
Maybe, I guess. We're starting to, we fall in love with guys who come right into the league. Everyone fell in love with the Zinger. Remember that? A couple with Porzingis.
Yeah.
In New York. And then he was the next, he was off everybody's list. So, yeah, I'm a Luka guy. I believe in him. And again, you've seen him working out this summer. If that dude ever is able to get in shape and be in shape at the beginning of the year, look out. Look out.
What do you remember from the slam dunk contest?
Losing.
That's it?
That's it. The first year I lost to Dominique Wilkins, which not everybody can say they lost the dunk contest to Dominique Wilkins.
No shame in that.
Yeah. And then the next year I felt like I got robbed a little bit. I was in Charlotte, and the Hornets really wanted me to do it. I didn't want to do it again. And they kind of twisted my arm and made me do it. And then D Brown pulled out that dunk and where he covered his eyes and pumped up his sneakers and won.
Do you think
contest.
D Brown actually covered his eyes, Rex?
No, of course not.
Okay. Okay.
It's like Sid Sabalos with a see-through blindfold.
Wait. Sid Sabalos could see through the blindfold?
Of course he could. What are we talking
about? Well, you were at least in, white men can jump. I mean,
yeah, I was third in the dunk contest one time. So, yeah, I'll take it, I guess, behind Sean Kemp and D Brown. So when you're getting beat by D Brown and Sean Kemp and Dominique Wilkins, I guess you're doing something.
There's no shame there. No shame whatsoever. Hey,
Dan, can you still shoot it? Can
you
still shoot it, man?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No threes, though. You don't have the range anymore.
No,
15 feet.
I can't. Right? I can't do NBA threes anymore.
I can't either. I shot an NBA three last week. Happened to be on the side of the court, 3 feet short, and then I started trying to jump a little bit. Finally, grazed the rim, and I was like, "No, I'm too old for this."
Is it sad that you can't jump anymore?
It's sad. Oh yes, so sad.
What was your vertical? What was your vertical?
I think it was 37 or 38 ish,
Okay.
right around in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, not crazy, but it was. Yeah, I mean, especially when you grow up and that's sort of part of who you are. When that's gone, yeah, you feel different. You just feel different.
But you can still shoot.
Well, I can shoot from 12 feet and in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a lot of fun.
If I had a shooting contest 15 feet away, you and Michael Jordan right now.
Right now, me. 15 feet?
Yeah.
Me. Yeah. Yeah, me. Shooting contest with MJ, I'll take me. And I wasn't I was a great shooter. I wasn't a great maker.
No, Rex, you were a great scorer. You weren't a high percentage shooter.
Mm-mm.
Like you get on a roll and
I could get hot,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Dan, true story. I didn't know how to pump fake until I got into the NBA. I had always jumped up over everyone else. I did, and I never. But the other part of that, Del Curry showed me. He said, "You got to stay down, just show the ball," because teams were saying, "Fly it, Rex. He'll just shoot it. He'll jump up and shoot it." And I didn't know how to shot fake. The other part of that was I never had an open shot ever. I didn't know how to make an open shot. I still jumped using the same elevation that I did on a contested 3-point shot. So, yes, I was not a great shooter, but I could get hot from time to time.
Did you see Steph Curry as a kid?
Oh, yeah. Stephen is my rookie year. I pulled up in Charlotte to the apartment complex a week late. I held out for a week for $25,000 more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And missed a week of training camp, but I pulled up to my apartment and I got out and there were 3 people standing there waiting for me to help me load my stuff into my apartment. Sonia Curry, Del Curry, and baby Stephen Curry was about 5 months old. So Stephen was my first little buddy in the NBA. They used to bring him down once a week, go to a movie, drop him off with me, and I would just hope he was alive by the time they came back. I was 19.
Wait, you babysat Steph Curry?
Babysat Steph, yeah, absolutely.
Were you changing diapers?
Changing diapers, all of that stuff. Yeah, that's my little buddy, and I couldn't be more happy for him. I think Del Curry is one of the finest people I've ever known, and he's produced 2 of the greatest shooters in the history of the game, and Del wasn't bad himself.
Yeah, Del was great from the side. Yep. He'd let him take that open jumper. He was making him. Rex has a new podcast. It's called Owned. Where can they? Wherever you get your podcast?
Wherever you get your podcasts. Wherever you listen to your podcast, you can listen to Own. Be sure and check it out. It'll be released once a week. We've got Russell Crowe out now. I think we've got Dr. Jerry Buss with Jeannie Buss next week.
Awesome.
We've got Natalie Portman, Marge Schott, Mukesh Ambani, Jerry Jones, Roy Wood Jr. We've got fans of sports that come on. Paul Scheer. It's a really fun deal. I'm having a blast with it.
Great to talk to you again, Rex. Thanks, buddy.
You too.